Welcome, everyone, to the Indie Reds podcast. I am your host, Joe Dilling. With me tonight are Brian Smith and Boback Latfalian. Gentlemen, welcome to the pod.
Good evening. Thanks for having me, Joe. Boback, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Yeah.
Good.
A little, I just getting back from a 4-day weekend off from work. So, a little mentally exhausted from that, 8 hours of fun I got to put in today. But
email inbox packed with like 1,000 emails.
Yeah, email inbox is always fun after that.
Yes, exactly. All right. So tonight we're going to discuss the Tsimikas and how he arrives to Liverpool. A little bit about Thiago and Ginny and their correlation. Liverpool's inaction so far in the transfer window. We'd be remiss if we didn't just mention Messi and all that craziness that went on. Look with the Community Shield, I guess, and then look forward to opening this Saturday against Leeds United. And then, I think we'll do it still. Points and position for the season. That's what we're calling it. So we'll give you the total number of points. It's way too early, and a prediction and where Liverpool finish this season. So we're covering a lot, so let's just dive right in. So we haven't really talked about Tsimikas. And Boback, am I saying that right? You did put out a grammar thing, and I thought the T, if it's a TS in Greek, it's just a kind of a hard S sound.
From what I read, it's still kind of pronounced a little bit, just like when you talk about the word futsal.
Okay.
You still have the T and the S in there. It's got a little bit of a sound. In regards to where the emphasis in the last name comes in, I would say it's either Tsimikas or Tsimikas. I think you are probably closer to what it actually is. I have not heard him actually say his own name, so we'll go with your pronunciation.
I think I'm going with what I heard James Pierce say on the Blood Red podcast. So, I can't say that I know much about him except for the fact that he's young, he's Greek, he has the COVID, so he's out of the team for a few weeks, maybe a little longer. He plays left back and apparently has been on Liverpool's radar since he was loaned to a German club. The name escapes me of the German club, and we also had a player there, and so we were there just kind of following up on our scouts were following up on our player and saw him and said, hey, we really need to get him on the radar. So apparently he tore up a few English teams in the Europa League for Olympiacos last season. So this was a position that I think we all said we need to get a strengthening spot in this season. Now, if he hadn't got the COVID, how would you be feeling about this signing? And I'll come to you first, Boback.
Well, I mean, because he's got the Rona currently, I haven't really had a chance to see much of him. I obviously didn't know much about him before we signed him, but from all accounts, in regards to just the kind of some slight highlights I've seen of him during the preseason games he did play in. He looks like the type of backup we need for Robertson, someone that continues to bomb up and down the line. Very, very similar to an extent to how Albi Moreno was in regards to, we kind of let off the leash and let him go on that left side. We don't really need someone that's going to be a more defensive-minded left back cover when we do have Robertson out, just based off of how he plays. But he does have the speed to be able to recover, and it looks like he kind of plays very similarly to him on the defensive end and in regards to his recovery tackles, his recovery pace, his positioning. And then in regards to, being offensively like Robertson, the few crosses that he has put in do seem to be, on par. It's just nice to have someone with the left foot out on that side.
Yes, yes, it is.
It always looks better when you have a left-footed player pumping in crosses.
Yeah, I mean, when James Milner's 2-footed, but when you see him have to cut back to put it on his right foot to make a good pass, I mean, you lose something there, as opposed to like when Rabo and now Tsimikas is just beaming down the left hand side and just put it in first time on their left foot.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean, it makes it just the slight intricacies. Milner is he's not weak on his left foot. He's pretty decent serving the ball with his left foot, but his first instinct's to always try and cut it back to his right foot to play the better ball. Even little things like dribbling. When you're dribbling, if you're a right-footed player, you're generally going to try and dribble with your strong foot.
Mm-hmm.
So you're essentially dribbling the ball with your inside foot, making it easier to tackle. There's little things like that can make all the difference. It looks like it just slightly slower whenever it goes out to Milner because of that particular reason. So having a left-sided player out there is amazing.
Brian, how are you feeling about Tsimikas?
That's a pretty good recap so far. I mean, I did watch all the preseason matches. I was lucky enough to be able to do that, and I noticed a couple of times he seemed to be out of position a little bit in recovery. I know Boback mentioned his pace and his defensive recovery looks pretty good. I thought he got caught out a couple of times, but that probably could be chalked up to just being in a new team, new system. I think they're going to work on that in training, and it's not going to be a big issue. So. We're not going to have him, hopefully, starting, at left back and against everybody in the top half and away in Europe and those type of things. He's, if Rabo's healthy, obviously he gets the nod, but he's going to help Rabo have a better season because he's going to be able to play a couple of these, midweek matches or these other cup matches or, Rabo needs a rest or gets a knock or something like that. We've got a player out there now who can do good things for us. So a couple times, I think the first touch let him down. I think it was against the Stuttgart match. But what was he playing, like 45 minutes in those preseason games? So, from the very first half of the very first preseason game, Klopp put the very best 11 we could have out there. Basically the starters except for Trent, who was still back in England. And Nico started. So you can see that they're trying to prepare fast. The season's here. We're back potting again. So Boback's absolutely right. It's good to have a left-footed player out there. And I think one place, if you're really looking kind of for what that looks like, to me, you notice it when, ball's played out wide to Milner or to whoever's out there playing left back. And, a square ball or a ball back to Virgil is probably the most likely thing that's going to happen just because of the position of the position or the first touch, whatever it is. Milner seems to do that without advancing the ball forward at all. But having a left-footed player out there that's got the speed that this guy has, I'm just going to call him Costas, I think, instead of trying to butcher his last name. So Smiths are allowed to do that, I think, by just so I'm not trying to scribble a last name, but. Having a left footer out there is great. I don't think he's going to be better than Moreno, and I didn't, blast Moreno as much as some other people did. I think he was, had some pretty good moments for us, even though he wasn't like a long-term solution. But yeah, it's good to have him, and I guess that wraps up our entire transfer window so far, anyway. But the Greek is here, and apparently he's never been. Jailed in Greece, and that only happens to other defenders on other teams in this league.
Oh Lord, that's a good one, Brian. All right, so let's head on in. They're every summer we're like, what's the transfer saga going to be this summer? And this summer we're no hints to it. It's Thiago. Thiago has all sorts of reports circulating about Liverpool interested in Thiago. Klopp wants Thiago. Bayern Munich are not going to renew his contract, or he won't sign with Bayern. Thiago. So much so that that people are saying that now that it hasn't happened yet, that if it doesn't happen, then FSG out. Those people are coming around again. That's an instant block for me on Twitter. But then we start seeing, after Ronald Koeman is hired at Barcelona, that Gini Wijnaldum is all of a sudden linked with Barcelona. We know that Ronnie the Red is a fan of Gini. I don't know if he actually came out and said that he was interested in bringing Gini to Liverpool, or excuse me, to Barcelona. However, there's a strong Dutch tie to Barcelona. It dates back to Johan Cruyff, Ronnie the Red, and so there's always that kind of appeal. Gosh, I can think about 4 or 5 other Dutch players from early in my Liverpool fandom that I recall being there. Not Edgar Davids was at Juventus. But yeah,
Ruud Gullit played there, if I remember correctly, like way back in the day. Ruud Gullit.
Yeah.
They've had Dutch players there for a while, and Koeman was a national team manager for a minute. So he, if I remember correctly, I could be wrong about that, but so he knows Gini quite well.
So then all of a sudden we're thinking, hey, look, Gini hasn't signed a new contract at Liverpool. Whether that is that he won't or will not is up in the air. It's up for discussion. So I don't really see where Thiago would come in. I mean, he'd be an upgrade in our midfield, but I don't see who he would unseat and how it would be. I mean, it's sport, but I don't see how it would be fair to a long-term serving player who hasn't done anything wrong or been poor. Hell, we just won the league for the first time in 30 years with this midfield option. I do think that we're going to start seeing more Naby Keita this year in situations. I think we're, especially in the midfield, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later, I think our midfield is going to be more situational this year. However, but if Gini does go, then I'd be perfectly happy with Thiago going to Liverpool. I don't want to see Thiago go to any other Premier League club, just from the highlights that I've seen. I'm going to be the first one. I don't watch the Bundesliga, so I don't know that much about Thiago. I've seen him do some amazing plays, but once again, those are YouTube videos, and there is also concern of injury with him as well. So all that being said, let me summarize this into a question. So if Gini is out the door, is that the only way you'd bring in Thiago, or would you bring in Thiago regardless? Boback, we'll start with you.
I mean, ideally, I would love both in the team. I personally, like you, I don't see where you make all the midfielders that we have in that side happy with someone like Thiago being a part of it, along with the existing midfielders that we have. So you've got Gini Wijnaldum, who's amongst all our midfielders has played the most since he's been signed. You've got Jordan Henderson that week in, week out wants to start every single game. You've got Fabinho that is very important in regards to the way we play, being in our midfield. You've got a midfielder that you paid over £50 million for, knocking on the door. That's been playing well since the end of last season. Going into this, you've got an upcoming academy player who's making his mark so far in the midfield. You have another midfielder that was the transfer record at the time that he was signed in Ox. So you have a lot of people that are wanting a spot in that 3-man midfield that you can't make everyone happy. And I think, at least from reliable journalists that we generally trust, Klopp is a massive fan of Thiago, but someone needs to kind of jump ship in order for him to fit in his plans in regards to making people happy. So, I mean, if Gini were to leave, it's nice to replace him with someone with the same amount of winning experience, around the same age, the same type of veteran experience. He would essentially be with the side the amount of the contract extension that you were trying to get Gini to sign. So you're essentially not losing that spot in the midfield. So I think ideally, yes, that would be great. But for me, I would love to see everyone sign for Liverpool, but I understand I understand the whole concept of squad harmony. So for me, if it came down to losing Genie or getting Thiago, I would rather keep Genie. If we could get both, that would be great.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
If we have to lose Genie, if that's not a choice, then I would replace him with Thiago in a heartbeat. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but that's my feelings towards it. I don't see a world where they can both be in the team.
And be happy.
I would love it.
Yeah.
I would love it, but ideally, I don't see that happening.
Bryan, what's your take on this if you have one?
Well, thank you for giving me the offer there. So, it's been a strange transfer window. And, a lot of speculation out there, and some of it's been, worth my time, and some of it I've just kind of cast aside. This one has been interesting. I didn't like how everybody was going berserk and kind of demanding news and signing. The guy was still 2 weeks away from playing in the Champions League final. I thought that was a bit silly, but the transfer window extends into the Premier League season. I think it goes to October 5th or 6th. Forgive me I don't remember exactly which date it is. So I don't think there's any chance we get Thiago unless Genie leaves. I think Boback did a good job of talking about kind of team harmony, and if he does come without Genie leaving, he's going to be taking minutes away from Keita. He's going to be taking minutes away from maybe Minamino against some lesser sides if we kind of 4-2-3-1 thing. Certainly taking away some minutes from Milner if we're playing like a two-man midfield and then a 4-2-3-1 if we need it, or even in the 4-3-3. So I'm now leaning towards, I think I would not be surprised at all if Wijnaldum leaves, but I don't know if that's going to be right now. I think he might leave, in January. I guess he can sign on a free transfer and then leave at the end of the year officially. And I think Thiago can do the same thing. So I don't want Genie to leave. I'd rather him stay another couple of years. What I like most about him is his durability. And he very rarely misses games through injury. He can play lots of different positions. And I don't know that much about Thiago, although the YouTube highlights look really good, especially the first touch.
Yeah.
Kind of spinning past defenders. But, we don't really ask Genie to do a whole lot of that. So Klopp and the scouting team, see something in him and all the statistical analysis they do and all that stuff. Obviously, he's a target, so that's fine with me. If they like him, I like him. But I don't think it's going to happen unless Genie goes. And at this point, I think it's possible. Genie has not signed this contract. I guess he met with Klopp earlier today, so maybe by the time we're listening, or maybe by the time the listeners are listening hearing this rather, we'll have some more info. But yeah, I'd want Genie to stay just because he rarely misses matches, and I guess Thiago is an injury-prone kind of guy, even though they are the same, very similar ages. He's just more durable, and he can play more positions for us, so I hope he stays.
All right. So Klopp has said at the beginning of the summer transfer window that, hey, look, it's open for a long time, and he doesn't really see us making any moves until it's late in the window, if at all. So it's been very quiet from Mel, Paul, and James. Probably all taking a bit of a vacation or a holiday, wherever you do it in there as well. I know James had said that he was on vacation and just came back. I think right before the Charity Shield. Maybe it was right after. And meanwhile, speaking of transfer window, Chelsea are buying almost every attacking player that's available. And it looks to me like they're going to be playing a 2-1-7 formation this year. So are you concerned about the lack of business so far this summer, Boback?
Once again, like I said, ideally, I would love Liverpool to sign everyone. But you're talking about trying to improve on up until, a couple weeks ago, the champions of everything. And that's very difficult to do. I know there's always someone you could think about adding more depth or improving on certain areas of the bench or squad overall. but it's damn near impossible to improve on that starting 11. So, you know, when you get to the point that we're at in regards to the strength of our team, this is what we've always been hoping for, and this is when we looked at United in their pomp. They would have transfer windows where they would sign one or two players tops, and they would be someone just to kind of supplement their squad and kind of freshen things up a little bit, or say, for instance, someone's unhappy with the amount of playing time they have, so they decide to leave, so you're essentially replacing them. I'm not concerned with our lack of business. I do think there are areas that we can strengthen, but I don't think that it's such an urgent need. What would concern me is if Liverpool are deviating from their long-term planning and their succession planning, and it looks like COVID in general has had an impact on that. And so that's what's kind of concerning when you're talking about the rather public chase of Timo Werner. It does seem like that was something that they really, really, really wanted to pull a trigger on, but because of COVID weren't able to. So that right there is kind of something that worries me a little bit in regards to their long-term planning, because they plan summers and summers in advance of the kind of moves that they're making. So I hope, especially when you consider that our ownership has two major sports clubs and franchises that are being impacted by this pandemic, it could essentially impact us a lot more than it would other massive clubs and sides like that. That's really the only thing that concerns me. But at the same time, I do trust the people that are involved in making those types of decisions, the financial decisions in regards to, okay, well, do we need someone that fits this age profile that's going to come in and back up our front three, or someone that's going to come in and be our fourth or third choice or challenge for starting center back position. Do we need another central midfielder? If those are questions that we thought we were going to address this window, but then can't because of this pandemic situation, that would be what worries me a little bit. But in regards to lack of business and the team that we have, I still back this team to beat anyone on any given day. So I'm not substantially worried. No.
It's interesting you brought up Timo Werner in regards to Klopp's been playing a lot of the 4-2-3-1 this year, and that's kind of what we were expecting him to do, either that or move Bobby back to a top of a, like, maybe play a 4-2-1-3, something along those lines. But he's playing Bobby in that one position when he's on the field, and it's almost like Timo Werner, he had decided that he was going to make that change this year regardless of team, but he also had Timo Werner in mind for that. So it's been kind of interesting. Taki's been playing in the center of that 3 midfield too, and he's been doing really well this preseason. I think people forget that it's not just this summer window, but it's also the fact that we brought in Taki Minamino, and it took him a while to get settled, and he's coming on. Naby Keita's coming on this year too. I don't think we're going to see that 4-2-3-1 in every game this season. I think we'll go back to that 4-3-3 a lot because of the fact of our midfield strengths, and it'll be more of a situational kind of attitude. But I think Klopp wanted to throw that kind of as an option in there. That being said, Brian, how do you feel? You don't like stupid questions. So you told me you didn't like the question before in the outline. So let me rephrase that. If the transfer window closed tomorrow, would you be content without Liverpool purchasing anybody further? And you can say, I have to because it's the club I support, or because COVID has made it that way, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll throw it over to you now. Let me know how you feel.
Well, I think COVID has less to do with the real reasons why we've acted the way we've acted than maybe most people are assigning to it. So there was a great, really long, terrific thread on Twitter the last couple of days from Swiss Ramble. Swiss as in the nationality Swiss. So look up Swiss Ramble if you haven't read that. Just about every podcast, Liverpool podcast out there has been talking about it. So, and Klopp said today as well that we can't reinvent the club like overnight. We can't just suddenly decide we're going to be Chelsea. And it's interesting that you brought them up as an example because Klopp, you cited them as an example as well. We can't just become Chelsea, overnight kind of thing and just start, buying stuff left and right. And this ownership group does not take out loans to pay for, massive transfers. We basically funded most of our biggest transfers, Allison's and Virgil, and those from selling players for very high profit, not just Coutinho, but several others as well. That's how we've operated for the last several years. Go ahead.
Didn't Klopp say the Bank of Roman, or was that somebody else putting that editorial in?
I don't know if he said that. If he did, I have no problem with that because it's real. He did say that. I believe he did, and I'm starting to wonder if I've got other people's comments attributed to him that maybe they weren't. But we're not owned by princes and kings and oil oligarchs and all this like that, like Abramovich. And we haven't behaved that way in the past. We're not going to start doing it now. And this piece that Swiss Ramble did on Twitter is fantastic. I encourage everybody to look it up. It's interesting. It's not the most exciting thing, or parts of it kind of suck. Where it's taking a look at we still have lower revenues from sponsorships and things like that than some other top clubs. United being one of them in some areas, but it takes a look at why we're spending our money the way we do. And our wage bill has gone up tremendously because we're taking care of our players. And and bigger bonuses and higher wages and things like that, and we're not just throwing money at players that we hope are going to be good, like Everton's been doing for the last couple of years. We've been smart for the last several years since FSG and Klopp and those guys came around. We've been brilliant in the transfer market. Not all been perfect, but we've been pretty damn good. Probably the best I've ever seen. And so. But the other side of that coin for me, Joe, is I don't know if you guys have really looked at it, but look at the fixture schedule and include the cup matches and the European matches. And I mean, it's a mess. The clubs are mess, meaning there's just games everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like two games a week nonstop. And we already know like the Carabao Cup is going to be, I think, against I heard the draws already. That match is in a couple Wednesdays from now. Not Lincoln City, Bradford City, winner of somebody against somebody kind of thing, right?
Lincoln's one of the sides that it could be.
Yeah.
Lincoln's
so I did remember that correctly then. So the fixture congestion is unbelievable. I looked it up before we started recording tonight, and by the time people listen to this, maybe September 10th, 11th, 12th, that kind of thing. Last year, September 12th or 13th was our fifth match day. We're 4.5 match days behind, or almost 5 match days behind. And the Carabao Cup's still going to be there, and Champions League's still going to be there. It's going to be a very, very hectic season. So I want our club to be as deep as possible. And I'm worried about center back, as I've said before. And Boback likes to calm me down like a good friend does, and remind me that Fabinho can go back there in a emergency, and he's right. But we've got to stay healthy, and I think we're very, very deep in the midfield. I'm not too worried about that. I want to stay healthy up front, obviously, and then our back five, basically, once you include Allison, is important. So. I wish we'd have signed a center back, maybe someone of Lovren's capability to kind of fill in, because Matip is injury prone, and after that you kind of get emergencies and young kids. So Yeah, we didn't sign a bunch of people. That's just the way it goes. And all the reasons are out there. I can't stress that Swiss Ramble stuff. It was really, really well done. So, yeah, check that out. And the window's still open, but I don't think anything's going to happen.
Boback, Bryan brought up the youngsters, which reminded me the last time we were on, you didn't get to play. Keep loan sell with us. So, I Boback, let's just come to you. Rion Brewster, Curtis Jones, Nico Williams. Let's just take him off, and Harvey Elliott. Keep, loan, sell for those three.
For those three,
yeah.
Keep all of them.
All right. You keep them in the side, so you're not going to loan them out this season.
Absolutely.
All right. Cool. And it's not like Marry, Murder, Kill, where you have to choose one for each of the three. Let me just put that out there. All right. Okay. So
that's a keep situation for all of them.
Isn't that just marry, kill, and kill? Marry, murder, and kill? What are you playing?
No, what is it?
It's marry, fuck, and and kill.
Yeah, Joe's doing like a double kill over there. I don't. Hey, you're not very good at that game, Joe.
No, I'm not. It's been a long summer from work, so I'm pretty fried. My brain's a mess. Speaking of messes, we'd be remiss if we didn't discuss just a little bit with Messi. If you're a football fan at all, you kind of all know what's going on, and it looks like Messi's going to stay at Barcelona. It really kind of bums me out because I had a lot of bullet points. I was going to do a lot of talking. I had a lot of digs at Barcelona and Manchester City. So I'm going to just get the Manchester City in. The only team that could have afforded Messi was Manchester City because of his $700 million release clause. And the only way that City can do it is because we found out that FFP doesn't apply to Manchester City. So there, got that in. Messi's staying. We were going to talk about this when I originally wrote it to see how, if he did join Manchester City, how that affect our club and our season, but it's a moot point as it stands. All right, moving on to Community Shield. I didn't really get a chance to watch the match much or even really catch the highlights. Brian's like, come on, Joe, it's been 3 weeks and you haven't watched it yet. I don't like going back and watching defeats. So I'm just going to leave it up to you guys to do my job for me. So, Brian, you're at Union Jack Pub in beautiful Broad Ripple for this match with fellow Indy Reds. Will you share us your take on the Community Shield?
Well, the trophy looks great to put us some food on, I think, at Union Jack, maybe a pizza or something like that. But
the match, the Community Shield match.
Yes. So, it's one of those that if you win it, you think great. If you lose it, you're like, oh yeah, it's just kind of a strange little glorified friendly anyway. So, Arsenal played better than I thought they would. I thought we'd win the game. Obviously, we went to penalties and we didn't, but we had plenty of chances, or a couple of chances early. Milner had a header, and Mane had a couple of chances or two. I didn't think Salah was very good, which was a little concerning. Arsenal had like a weird kind of back five going, and they really transitioned forward quickly and defended well and kind of played out of the back some. I think Arsenal's game plan was good. Their goal, Nico Williams got caught narrow a couple of times, really narrow, like noticeably narrow, and we were sitting there watching, and at one point I said to Kenny, I'm like, Nico's narrow again, 2 passes and it's going out to the wing where he should be. And either I got lucky or it was, just kind of obvious, but maybe a little bit of both. But, on their goal, go back and watch that. Robertson didn't play the ball down the line very well. And that left our entire back line kind of in a bad shape. And Virgil and Gomez had to come over, and that naturally brought Nico over a little bit and kind of forced him to be a little bit narrow. So, he wasn't great, but neither were a few other players. And really, the last thing about that match, I think, is the penalty shootout. Alisson did not look good in the penalty shootout. He's never been really good at saving penalties. Like, we had some other guys that could save him. Pepe Reina used to save him with his eyes closed, and even Mignolet, saved a couple of big ones. We don't give up a whole lot of penalties, so I can't remember Alisson saving one, but
he hasn't.
He didn't guess. Yeah, he didn't guess correctly on any of them, which was kind of annoying. And ours were pretty good. Obviously, Brewster missed his. and I was a little disappointed in some of the fan base, not at UJ's per se, but afterwards, just kind of ripping Klopp for putting him in that situation to even take a penalty because he just got onto the pitch and all this other kind of nonsense. I mean, Brewster's, in hindsight, this is going to sound a little bit silly, and I'll take my lumps for that, but his penalty is 5 inches from being the best one of the day. You hit the bar and it goes over the top, but if it's a few inches lower, it's absolutely unstoppable by any goalkeeper that's ever been born. So, it seems kind of stupid to say that because he did miss it, but the kid's got guts. He's got balls. He ripped it and then just put it in off the bar. So, those things happen. I'd much rather that happen in the Community Shield than in some other match that is of more importance, like a Carabao Cup or FA Cup or something like that. Even a Champions League match where we're already through, or whatever it is, and he gets a 15-minute cameo or something like that. But we didn't play very great. Arsenal was fine, and went to penalties, and those things happen.
Boback, what's your take on the Community Shield match?
I was the first half. I guess to kind of watch off and on. I was still at work, so I didn't get as detailed a look as I did the second half. But from my perspective, it kind of went the way that all of the preseason matches so far have gone, to where we've started off slow and our first half has been relatively hard to watch, at least for the first half of the first half, and then we start to grow into the game, and then by the second half it just looks like we're going to dominate. I had a good friend of mine came and joined us at UJ, who's an Arsenal fan, and that entire second half he was supremely confident that Liverpool would equalize and end up winning the game, even going into the last 5-6 minutes of the game. He just said, you guys just look like you're going to get one. Bryan mentioned we definitely did have quite a few clear-cut chances. I don't quite remember the Milner header, but I remember at least 2 Mane breakaways where he's one-on-one with the keeper. There was also another one where kind of later in the match where a cross was kind of looped up into the box and he chested it down. And normally you would see him kind of one-touch volley it, and if he volleys that shot, it's anywhere on goal, it's in. But he ended up taking an extra touch, and that extra touch ended up being a little bit sloppy, and the keeper was able to come out and thwart him quite a bit. So those are, if you think of any of those opportunities going the other way, we win that match in regulation. I don't like to consider exhibitions that the game is drawn in 90 minutes and then there's no extra time and it goes straight to penalties. I don't consider those as a loss, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that may just be me, but I feel like it's the kind of match that Arsenal fans would be happy with, even just the 90-minute result in the draw, based off of how we dominated the second half. But in the way the first half, it's kind of gone, worryingly, how all the other preseason matches have gone. In regards to their goal, Bryan mentions Nico being pretty narrow the majority of that match. I think it was almost on purpose, based off of the the potential speed he's matched up against. You don't want to be too far out on him. And I think that, kind of ended up biting him because he gave him way too much space. When he received the ball, he didn't get as much cover as you would like from, the supporting center midfielder. And, you're talking about one of the more deadly strikers in Europe, if not the world, against the 19-year-old. Even some of the most veteran fullbacks would get done the way he did on that particular goal. He just gave him a little bit extra space, and Aubameyang knows what to do with that. So you can't really fault a whole lot of people. You'd be being really picky. on him in that particular scenario. Other than that, Arsenal had one or two opportunities in the first half that they could have scored, but they hardly had the ball in the second half. So, I take from that Community Shield performance a Liverpool that grew into the game and ended up by the end of it kind of unlucky not to come away with the win.
Boback, staying with you, Leeds on Saturday. Marco Bielsa brings that Leeds side down not very far from to Anfield Road. What are you thinking you're going to see in this match?
Leeds is going to be a really exciting side to watch in the Premier League this season. They've been a team that, if you've at least watched a little bit of the Championship, you've been kind of hoping to see. They remind me a lot of how Wolves was whenever they came into the Premier League. A team that deservedly, or a club that deservedly should be in the Premier League, but has just not been able to get back in some time. They've got the firepower, they've got the fan base, they've got the manager, but they just couldn't get over the hill. They finally have. They've got a really good side, and they've done some really good business so far in the transfer window. So they are. I'm very happy that we're playing them first match of the season instead of 2-3 months into it, where they have the ability to grow into the games and build the confidence that they need to beat a top side like Liverpool. They've made some good signings up top. They weren't shy on firepower to begin with. But the signing of Rodrigo from Valencia, who's the off and on the top striker for the Spanish national team, usually between him and Morata, in regards to who starts there. They've shored up a couple midfield signings. They've apparently, and this doesn't massively surprise me, but it surprises me that no other Premier League side has really looked into it. But they've looked into signing Julian Draxler, who has a year left on his contract at PSG. Who doesn't really play a whole lot. I think he would be a really good player for them. And I think having Bielsa as their manager, they have that ability to attract players that may be wanting to play Premier League football, but kind of been drawn away from the top 5 or 6 sides. But some of these other mid-table or lower Premier League sides are willing to pull the trigger and pay those huge wages for someone like him. He could potentially be someone that does some damage on that team as well if they manage to sign him. Obviously, that would be after we play him, but I think they're going to be very tactically astute. Bielsa is a professor of the game. He's if you followed a lot of the drama in the Championship the last couple of years, and hear about Spygate, and how he essentially videotaped and/or sent people to watch trainings of all the other teams. Most famously, Frank Lampard's Derby County caused a big scandal on that end. It's actually technically not illegal, just kind of ethically frowned upon. He just kind of loves to talk about the game, and is very serious about it. He's going to be a funny character to keep your eye on. I would say he's very Belichick-esque if you're translating from the NFL to football. He's got a little bit better personality. He's a little bit more cheery than Belichick, but in regards to how he approaches the game, that's what you're going to look for. So you're going to see you're going to be a side that's going to be ready for us. They will be ready for us. They've known they're playing us this first match of the season for weeks now, and he's had plenty of time to prepare. So it's not going to be an easy task. I think I see this one being a 1 or 2 goal victory for Liverpool, but it's not going to be something that's going to be comfortable by any means.
Bryan, Boback did a great job of summarizing basically my thoughts on this match. What about you?
I think we'll win the game. I think we might hammer them, and I think maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part, but Boback's right. It's good to play them early, and so Klopp will have the guys ready. Hey, look, Leeds they've not been here for a long time. They're finally back. I kind of feel bad for their supporters. I know there's a rivalry between the two cities. Just kind of being in northern England and kind of northwestern England or central England, so to speak, but. Yeah, their supporters. I mean, they're back and they can't go watch them play. So, but they have at least have a really tough opening fixture list. I mean, they play us, and right after that, they have a kind of an immediate 6-pointer, so to speak, against Fulham. If you want to look at the, the clubs that might end up towards the bottom, then they play Sheffield, who at times last year were really really tough to beat. Then they play City. Then they play Wolves, and there's a game against Leicester in there that's a date to be determined. And the Leicester match might come after that. I'm not exactly sure, but that's really tough opening. And if they can get a draw or two in there, maybe beat Fulham, and then they go on a run of games where, they're a lot easier for them to get some results. They could be, I don't want to say okay, but, certainly not in the bottom couple by the time you get to, the end of November or so. So interesting, good fan base, and it's fine to have them back. A very good friend of mine who is actually a sports writer and a big Leeds supporter. He became a Leeds supporter when I picked, not too long after I picked Liverpool back when we were 25 years ago when we knew each other in high school. And he's in our wedding. I went and saw him a couple weeks ago. He's all fired up. He's got a shirt. He's ready to go. I think he might be UJ on Saturday, so we'll have to give him plenty of shit. And because if they somehow take the lead, he'll be giving us shit. That's for sure. So everyone has freedom to just knock them out if you like. But yep, I'm ready to play them. I think we're going to beat them. I'm going to call it 3-0.
I think that this game can go one of two ways. I think, I know this kind of sounds like a cop out, but I think Liverpool win. We'll put that hands down. But Liverpool started slowly all preseason, and granted, they've kind of been doing that the past few preseasons as well. But in their matches, then they grow into that match. I think if we get caught sleeping, it could be one of those where Leeds scores early and then just defends, and then we're looking at like Boback said, a 1-2 goal, or we just hunker down and we figure them out pretty quickly and we get settled quickly, and then it's like Bryan 3-4 goal lead, a lot like Norwich last year. So. That's kind of where I stand. I don't really know what to expect from this. It can go a couple different ways. I never bet the team, so I think, maybe I'm going a little too far and saying Liverpool are going to win. Jim would have about 5 jokes about me being a jinx right now, but he's not on the pod. Okay, so moving on. Bryan put out a question to the LFC Indy Facebook group. And Bryan, why don't you go ahead and take it away and tell us about that post?
Well, officially stole the idea from another podcast that we listen to every once in a while. It's over our friends Neil and all those guys over in Liverpool did this. So what it is just how many points do you think Liverpool are going to get this year? What place will they finish? So I just kind of put it out there for everyone just to kind of reply back with how many points they think they're going to get and what place will finish. And yeah, the transfer window isn't closed yet. And yeah, we don't know about injuries and things like that. We don't know how much Joe's going to jinx it all. But I'm kind of hold the group to this. I kind of made a list of everyone and how many points they guessing. I don't know what you guys are going to pick. So you're just going to have to jump in and stop me and claim your spot, so to speak. And I've decided, I did announce this. I'm just going to say it now. Whoever gets this closest, I'll buy them a Liverbird sticker for their, car windshield or back window or laptop or something like that. Whoever gets this right. So, and there's a couple people that have the same numbers here, and if that's the case, we'll just draw one out on that or something like that. So, I'm just kind of read off the kind of points here. I mean, I have this chart here. I'm like all the way down here, like 80, 81, 82, 83 points. I don't think any of us are going to pick that. But stop me if you want it. So like 84 points, 85 points, 86. Hector up in Kokomo has Liverpool on 87 points and finishing first. So that's our first one on the chart here. Anybody want 88 points or 89 points? 90 points?
I'm going 90, Brian.
All right, so am I. So I'm going 90 and picking first. Are you going 90? And what are you picking?
I'm going second.
Joe is picking 90 at second. I'm picking 90 in points finished first. And just real briefly, what I'm thinking here is that as we talked about the fixture congestion being really tough, I just think it's going to be harder to get points this year. I don't think we're going to get anywhere near 99 points again, just because I don't think the calendar is going to allow it. We had 99 last year. City had 98 the year before that, and we had 97. City had 100 before that. In the season before that, where they were just ran away from everybody. But then the years before that, 93 points won the league, and 81 points won the league, 87 and 86 in the 4 seasons before that. So I have his 90 points in first place because I think that's what it'll take to win this year. Joe, 90 points second place. All right, so moving on to 91.
My 90 points, so let me justify this. My 90 points.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, please.
I think it's going to be hard for us to overcome City this year. City squad depth is very, very deep. And it's like you've said a few times, going to be playing a lot of games midweek throughout the whole season. I think pretty much the whole season there's a midweek game, whether it's some cup tournament or Champions League or whatever it is. So a lot of fixture congestion in there. And then a lot of these guys end up going on national duty, so they don't even really get a little bit of a break in there as well. So that being said, I just have this feeling that the monkey's off our back now, and so that maybe Klopp's going to have a lot of work to get these guys really focused again. We didn't bring in anybody new, really, that's going to challenge these guys. So I just have a feeling that we're going to probably make a few more slips this year, and I think 90 points is kind of where my target's at. And I think City's gonna come back and take it this year.
All right, well put, Joe. Sorry I didn't let you do that.
No
My fault. Kind of stomped on you there, but my 90 points is like we agree on points. Me thinking that's going to be first is a bit wishful thinking, so we'll see. But all right, so we're on to 91. Boback, you at 191. Say don't do anything at all. That's fine. Michael's Need has got 91 points for Liverpool in first place. 92 points. Mr. Shorter, Zach Shorter, has been on the pod many times. He's got 92 points. So first place for Liverpool. Kevin Kyle has 92 points in second. 93 points. 93 points. Jim Dimitri and Austin James both think Liverpool will finish on 93 points and finish first. 94 points.
I'll take 94.
Boback is in at 94. Where are we going to finish? Like sixth?
We're going to finish first on 94 points.
First on 94 points.
And here's my justification for still being in the realm of where we finished the last couple of seasons. We're talking about a team that over the last 100 Premier League games, we've accrued 245 points. So that's even including the 17-18 season where we finished fourth. And we had a little bit of a slip up towards the end where we were focusing on the Champions League. I think something that we forget, even though it wasn't too long ago, is going into the pandemic break, we had a chance for 109 points, and we're very much on pace to doing that. essentially what that break did in the pandemic is it broke up our rhythm. It took a lot of the urgency away from the results. We weren't kind of churning them out. And over that period of how many games did we play? 9 games. I think we averaged like 1.43 or 1.5 points a game, and still finished on 99 points. I don't think we're going to ever experience a period this season, despite the fixture congestion, to where we're going to be averaging relegation type numbers, Everton type numbers, because that's almost a full quarter of this. That is a full quarter of the season. Yeah. That's how much we did not have to focus in that last quarter of the season, that we got by with averaging that low of a points per game total and still finishing on 99 points. That's why I think 94 points isn't a too unreasonable ask for this side. I think that's kind of the bar that we've set, and it's what we're going to need to finish on to win the league with the sides that we have fighting against. I think City is obviously going to be in and around us the whole time, but obviously Chelsea's made a major splash in the transfer window. If their signings click early and well, then we could see 3 or 4 teams on pace for that 90-point mark, and Liverpool does certainly well when there's someone pushing them from behind. So I'm pretty confident in the mid 90s points, and not too much of a fall off from our record-setting points total.
I think Chelsea's going to struggle more than what they and their fans expect them to this year, because they're going to come in with that firepower, and everybody's going to drop 10 men in the box, 9 men in the box behind the ball, and they're just going to defend their hearts out and hope to counterattack them. And I think it's going to work more than it doesn't on that Chelsea team. Yes, they added Thiago Silva. Yes, they have Rudiger is pretty good, but the rest of that defense is lackluster. Yes, they still have N'Golo Kante, but you have everybody else is an attacker, and I don't know how Fat Frank's going to get anybody else to play defense, and it's ridiculous. I think they're going to be so susceptible to the counterattack that it's going to be bad, and they're going to get burned more often than not. I think they'll still probably finish 4th. But I don't see them finishing above us, or quite frankly, even closing the gap that much. They're going to be fighting for that 4th place spot.
They've also signed Chilwell as well, so they've made 2 defensive signings. That I think you're right in regards to they might garner more respect from Premier League sides than they necessarily deserve, and might have a lot more of the 10 men behind the ball type situation. But I think that would be doing them some favors, to be honest with you. So like I said, it really kind of depends on how these signings get on together. But if not Chelsea in 3rd, who do you see as the 3rd place side? I don't see United being any better than that.
Let me digress. I said I spoke too soon. I think Chelsea's in 3rd, but I think there's a gap between 2nd and 3rd, whether that is Liverpool or Manchester City in 2nd place.
I think that's ultimately probably going to be true, but I don't think that's something that they may fall off on until maybe February, March. And at that time, it's still going to be pushing both those sides ahead of them to that higher point mark, was kind of my point.
Yeah. I think Wolves is going to be higher up in the table this year than last year. I think they're going to be fighting for 4th place, and they're going to be battling Manchester United all season for that. I'm not sold that Pogba and Mason Greenwood and Oh my gosh! And Bruno Fernandes are going to carry the team all season long. Something's going to happen. Pogba's going to get injured. Fernandes is going to get pissy or something like that, and something's going to happen, and they're going to struggle again. That's just my.
We know they're not going to get any less penalties. They're still going to get their 36 penalties per season.
Yeah, that's true. And just to kind of throw this off topic a little bit, where Brian mentions penalties, I just read today, and I don't know if this is something that you guys have seen, but the apparently the VAR changes for this season is going to be more back towards to what the actual IFAB protocol is, in regards to they're going to be having the refs go to the monitor. They're kind of relaxing a little bit on that, the offensive handball, and they're being a little bit more strict with the defensive handball. So, you know how we it was essentially the IFAB rule is that if the arm is in an unnatural position, it doesn't matter if it's intentional or not, it's a handball.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Premier League continued to kind of interpret the rule as however they wanted to interpret it. It wasn't intentional, blah, 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 blah. Apparently, at least their directive is to be more close to the IFAB protocol, which would in turn essentially, you would think, have more penalties involved. So you could see United surpass their gazillion that they've already gotten this past season just with VAR changes.
Well, it's all right because they still have Harry Wilson, who's going to have complete brain lapses in that huge head of his with a very small brain, and he's going to start grabbing balls out of nowhere, and all of a sudden VAR is going to award pens. So
Harry Maguire.
Yeah, I hope Harry Wilson's not doing that.
I said Harry. Oh my gosh! Why did I?
Harry Maguire? He's still in prison, so I don't.
No, he's not. He got bailed out and apologized from.
Yeah. All right, I got to move on here. Boback, you're at 94 points, and you're joining Jay Kajowski and Philip Soilo out in Missouri. I think I got your name wrong there, Philip. Sorry about that. So you guys all are at 94. Nobody else here left to chime in, so I'll just go through the list. 95 points for Brett Henninger. Sorry, Brent Halterman, both at first place. Oscar Orta, 96 points in first place. And Jordan Green says we'll get 1,000,000 points to finish first. 100 and something, he says. So
114.
we're going to include him.
Actually, he said 115.
If he's closest, then you know what? I'll buy him one sticker for his car, another one for his forehead. So, yeah.
All right.
So there it is. That's the list. So,
thanks for doing that, Brian. Sorry, everybody, we got a little off topic. We haven't had really a lot of chances to talk about everybody else this season. So let's go ahead and start wrapping it up. Plug, non-plug, time. Let's start with Boback tonight. Boback, plugs and non-plugs.
Oh, well, it would not be a Indie Reds podcast with me on it without me plugging Union Jack Pub. Specifically this time around, I'm going to plug their Westfield location, which will be doing its grand opening. And they've just changed the grand opening date to Thursday, the 17th of September. So, you know, right in line with the Premier League season starting. If that's in your area and you've been wanting to check out Union Jack Pub, but haven't really had a chance, certainly recommend giving their Westfield location a drop in. It just from the pictures and the posts that they've been playing, it does look like a completely different setup with still kind of the same feel to it. It looks very cool. I plan on at some point within the next couple weeks paying a visit, probably not on a match day, but I will certainly be checking them out. So my plug, Union Jack Pub, Westfield.
Boback, another supporters group, is rumored to have changed their location to that place. We can talk about that off air.
Well, you know, we can give them all the banter that they deserve.
You know, they've changed their place again. They just keep changing it.
They couldn't handle the heat.
They've changed it quite a few times.
It's fun. All right, Brian, plugs, non-plugs, bud.
Well, does Boback have a non-plug, or are you just going to plug tonight, bud?
My non-plug is that said supporters club.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Zebra stripes up in Westfield. Excellent. All right. So, speaking of kits. My plug tonight is going to be for Nike. I like the new kit. I like the new away kit. The third kit is out there now. I like all the different hats they have and the jackets and the shirts, and even at our local soccer shop here in just north of Indianapolis, they've got all this stuff. I think it looks great. I know it wasn't perfect, and there was hard to get things on the first day, but I think overall Nike's off to a good start. I do like the away shirt. I did buy one. I know it's a polarizing shirt and not everybody loves it, but I think it's pretty cool. I bought nothing but red ones lately. So I think, well done to Nike. So a non-plug though, I think maybe for the first time ever, I'm going to non-plug Liverpool or LFC here. The shirts that people were buying and getting these patches on their shirts, whether it's the FIFA World Club Cup champion patch, whatever the heck you call that gold thing, they're falling off. And that's one thing because, that's kind of fixable. But so many people that I've seen and read online and people that I know here in Indianapolis have ordered the Premier League champions patches, the round ones on the sleeves. And Liverpool, either because they're outsourcing this work or maybe they're doing it in-house, I don't know. They're attaching small little youth size patches to an adult's shirt. And it just looks weird. And I know they've done it for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shirts. And that just really is strange to me. And I'm surprised that Liverpool did that. So tiny little non-plug for that, because I think it make the shirt look kind of strange. I didn't get the patches on mine just because I heard about them falling off. And then when there was talk of the wrong size patches being used for thousands of people, so I just avoided it. And so first ever non-plug to Liverpool. I did it. I feel bad. I'm a terrible person. Sorry, Joe.
All right, so my plug tonight is Alex. My oldest son, he is playing kind of between the top team and the bottom team. We only have 2 teams this year on his club team, and a new coach came in this year, and I want to plug that coach, Coach Keegan, at FC Pride. He's one of the assistant youth development guys, youth development people for the boys academy side, and we just spent a weekend in Ohio near Cincinnati, and got to talk with him a little bit more and understand a little bit more about his philosophy and what he sees with my son, and how he likes him and things that he can improve on and stuff like that. So it was really good to actually sit down and talk with him. I don't know if many of you know, but were really unhappy last year with the coach, and had
great. There goes another listener. He'll never listen again.
I don't think he was listening anyways. And we had looked at leaving the club and actually looking for a different club for Alex, and then Ben as well. But we've been really happy so far. So big plug to Coach Keegan, and Coach Sean too for Ben's doing his first year at U8 soccer. So they're having fun, and we're doing good in this COVID environment. My non-plug is to me, because for the first time I almost talked politics as a non-plug on the podcast. But I caught myself and decided not to do that because we don't talk politics on the pod. So it's just kind of the way it is. Really unhappy with the way that some things are going right now. Take of that what you will. I'm not going to tell you where I am. People that know me know where I stand. But whatever. Okay. So that's it. All right. Thank you everyone for tuning in. It's good to be back. Hopefully we'll get back to a regular schedule, at least doing once a week again. If you want to get a hold of us, our contact information is going to be in the podcast notes section. I'm your host, Joe Dilling, signing off for this episode of the Indie Reds podcast. You'll never walk alone.